Xinran encountered a double betrayal from her fiancé and best friend. She wanted to retaliate against the dog man and woman, but had no intention of provoking a mysterious tycoon. Ting was extremely wealthy, but was misunderstood as selling it in the nightclub. She retaliated against scumbags and lowly women at the wedding, and he took the opportunity to become her groom. Just when everyone thought he was a poor boy picking up a big deal, Tingshen began to lose his armor one by one, ultimately revealing his identity as the mysterious ruler of the D family. Chapter 1. Double Betrayal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a dimly lit room. The heavy gasps of men and women echoed one after another, a pair of figures overlapping on the sofa, and their clothes scattered all over the ground. The scene on the sofa was fragrant, and the air was filled with the voices of men and women. On the bed lay a woman with delicate features and a stunning appearance. She seemed to be asleep, but her face was pale, with an oxygen tube inserted into her nose. The instrument displayed the woman's heart rate and rapid increase in heart rate. This is the best private hospital and the most expensive rehabilitation ward in Jinghai. On the bed lies a woman named Xinran, who is a famous wealthy heiress from Jinghai and the only daughter of the Yi family. The man and woman who are in love on the sofa are her fiancé Xie and her best friend Aya. Xinran was diagnosed as a vegetative in a car accident half a month ago. Xie expressed his intention to serve his fiancé Ae for life. He pretended to take care of her, but secretly slept with her best friend in the hospital room. The two people on the sofa were too immersed and did not notice any abnormalities on the electrocardiogram. After the two of them had settled down, the numbers on the electrocardiogram also showed normal. Zaiya put on her clothes, lazily lit a cigarette afterwards, and sat by the hospital bed provoking, Xinran, what if you're beautiful and have money at home? Your fiancé A is still lusting for immortality on me, and you refuse to even touch me. Do you think men will cherish you? It's funny. A light blue smoke ring sprayed on Xinran's face, and Aya's face was full of pride. Aren't you the one who hates the smell of smoke the most? I'm smoking next to you now. What can you do to me? Xie hugged Aya from behind, his hands dishonestly touching her body. Her hands were not honest and her mouth was not idle. She is already a vegetable. What are you talking to her about? Why don't you discuss life or the issue of living with me? Oh, I hate it. Why is your greedy cat like you can't eat enough? Aya hooked her arm around Xie neck, and the two were entangled by Xinran's side. Xie kissed her neck from behind and said vaguely, I don't have enough of you. Aya's face was full of intoxication, but she still pushed away the man behind her and said, the nurse for the ward round is coming soon. Be careful not to be seen by others. If our situation is discovered and spread, our plan will be over. Xie plays the role of a heartfelt character outside. After Xinran became a vegetable, he voluntarily proposed that their wedding not be cancelled but continued, and he wanted to take care of her for a lifetime. Xinran's parents were deeply moved and planned to keep the dowry prepared for their daughter under the name of Xie after their wedding, which he would never earn in his lifetime. A sea view villa, a limited edition Rolls-Royce, a bank card balance of 300 million yuan, and a 30% stake in Esher Group. The wedding will be held in 3 days. At such critical moments, Zaiya does not allow any extraneous branches to grow. Xie said with resentment, you wait, our days of sneaking around won't be long before it ends. After the wedding, we won't have to act for outsiders. When the money and shares are in hand, we'll kill this useless person and live our happy and carefree lives from now on. Husband, you're so kind to me, I love you. Aya hugged Xie and acted coquettishly, and the two of them stuck together like conjoined babies. The two of them were so overjoyed that they didn't even notice the vegetative person lying in bed clenching their fists and biting their nails into the flesh. Chapter 2. Drunk Bar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Late night. It's impossible for family members to come at this time, and Xinran and Jia no longer have to act. The two of them went home one after another. Ward. Xinran opened her eyes, her deep black eyes shining like stars in the dark night, without any hint of a vegetative appearance. She unplugged the instrument tube from her body, jumped up from the hospital bed, changed into hospital clothes, put on a black dress, put on sunglasses, and left the hospital. She took a taxi to Dream Blue. Dream Blue is the largest bar in Jinghai, and cousin Lan Ziyue invited her to meet here. At first, Lan Ziyue only watched a video of Xinran celebrating her birthday and concluded that Xinran's relationship with Aiya was extraordinary, and Xinran's pursuit of her cousin was not purely motivated. Xinran is in love. Of course, she doesn't believe what her cousin said, so the sisters bet that if Xinran becomes a vegetable, Xinran will not change her heart as he promised. Human nature is indeed untested. Whether it's a person or a ghost, just one test will reveal its true colors. Xinran lost the bet and went to find her cousin to admit the defeat. Lan Ziyue hugged her cousin with heartache, and Xianshan waved a half-circle in the air with her fingers. However, it's not worth being sad for scumbags. What is Xinran? Today, I'll find you a top-notch handsome guy to compensate you with. After she finished speaking, she pulled Xinran to the supreme private room and asked her cousin to wait inside. She wanted to personally choose a handsome man to accompany them to drink. My cousin went out, but Xinran sat on the sofa like a needle on a needle. She didn't want to stay here, even though she was betrayed, she didn't want to punish scumbags in this way. There are many ways to punish scum, and it cannot be an excuse to indulge oneself. She stood up and prepared to leave, just as she arrived at the door. Bang! The door was knocked open by gravity, and a handsome man came in from outside, who was so handsome that everyone was angry. It is indeed top-notch. Handsome guy with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, resolute facial features, thin lips lightly pursed, and sparkling eyes like stars in the sky, especially after seeing Xinran. Immediately bully him. Xinran was also shocked that the handsome guy who grew up like this and became a duck was a waste of time. He was already embraced by a man and his lips were kissed. Her mind was buzzing and blank. What a special first kiss, it's gone. Release me. Women, don't play with me like that, refuse and welcome me. What does Xinran mean by asking him? She didn't want to refuse or welcome, he forced a kiss on her, did he still have reason? However, the man did not give her a chance. His kiss was overbearing and lasted for a long time. The ensuing storm left her no time to react. What should have happened, and what should not have happened, happened. After a long time, the man left Xinran satisfied and dressed in an orderly manner. She also hurriedly put on her clothes to cover the strawberry prints on her body, her mind still confused at this moment. What is the situation? Lost the first night in a daze. Lan Ziyue said she went out to find a handsome guy to accompany them for drinks and entertainment, but she didn't say it directly. Xinran believed that the handsome guy who had just had a romantic relationship with her was a young master in a bar, commonly known as Duck. She thought of giving the duck on her first night, and felt like crying without tears. In an instant, the man was dressed neatly and took out his wallet. Xinran finally realized that he was going to charge. She quickly took out a handful of money from her pocket and stuffed it into the man's wallet, saying, "This should be enough, right?" The man was stunned. Xinran thought it was not enough, but she accidentally caught a glimpse of herself still wearing the ring given by Xinran. It was a token of love between the two, nominally given by Xinran, but actually spent her money. She doesn't even want a person anymore, why does she need a ring? Xinran took off the ring and handed it over. When I bought this, it should be over 10,000 yuan, which should be enough. The man was momentarily stunned, then took the ring and hurriedly rushed out the door with Xinran. I don't know when the doors started, but there were 4 more bodyguards. She left too hastily and didn't notice. My cousin stood anxiously in the hallway, talking to the bar owner with a red-faced expression. Lan Ziyue saw her come out and hurriedly welcomed her, saying, Ran, are you okay? Hurry up, I won't come again in the future. Xinran quickly pulled her cousin away. Chapter 3. No reason. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bar. Supreme private room. The man looked at the ring in his hand, with a beautiful curve on the corner of his mouth, which almost startled the bar owner Joan who happened to come in. Did Di de Xiao laugh? This man can actually laugh, the sun is rising from the west. Di Tingshen, a commercial genius, is the heir of the mysterious Di family. Di's family is like a divine needle in the business world, with assets spread all over the world. Their industries are present in various industries, and most of them are leading enterprises. Di Ting is well-known, but he is low-key and never participates in any activities, even photos cannot be found online. Because of mystery, rumors have come, and various versions of rumors are flying everywhere. The most widely circulated one is that he is almost 30 years old and doesn't have a girlfriend. Rumors have it that he is gay and likes men but doesn't like women. And the man who walked in, bar owner Joan, was Di Tingshen's rumored boyfriend, another handsome and angry handsome guy. Di Ting doesn't care about any rumors, but Joan does. These rumors have too much impact on him dating girls, so he invited Di Tingshen over to find a beautiful but not entangled woman to break the rumors. Di Ting saw his friend come in and his smile disappeared. What are you doing here? Joan sat casually next to Di Tingshen, with her arm resting on his shoulder. The man's cold gaze swept over him, and he immediately took his arm away. Joan sneered and said, There is good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Bad. The bad news is that the woman I found for you had a car accident on the way and can't come. Di Tingshen. He asked in a deep voice, Who was the woman just now? The woman just now was Xinran, the only daughter of the Yi family. She got married 3 days later. Di Ting frowned deeply and said, Is this the good news you said? Joan leaned closer to his ear and said, Let me tell you. Get out of here. Di Tingshen pushed him away, emitting a cold aura all over his body. He is a normal-oriented big man, and somehow he was rumored to be gay. If it weren't for eliminating negative rumors, he wouldn't have been able to follow Joan's arrangements to find a woman in a moment of confusion. The arranged woman didn't come, but was mistakenly mistaken for a duck by another woman. The head of the Tang Di family was mistaken for a duck. Where are we going to reason? 3 days later. Grand 7-star hotel. The wedding of Xinran and Xie was held as scheduled. The groom, Xie was dressed in a stiff handmade haute couture suit, with a dog-like appearance. Xinran was dressed in a wedding dress, with heavy makeup on her face. Although she didn't open her eyes, she still couldn't conceal the beauty of the country. She sat in a wheelchair, with Lan Ziyue pushing her to stand next to Xie. As a bridesmaid, Ji Aya stood on the other side of Xie wearing a bridesmaid dress. The ceremony has begun. On the huge electronic screen, there was no problem playing the music video of the groom and bride from acquaintance to acquaintance. However, after a few shots, the screen suddenly shook, followed by an action film that was not suitable for Xie and her beloved children. This scene stunned everyone, and the conversation between the two's breaths was even more shocking. Ji Aya. I want to do it with you in your wedding room, that's enough excitement. Xie. I will definitely satisfy you, my dear. When we completely hold on to Xinran, this useless person, you can do whatever you want. You can spend her money, live in her house, sleep with her man. The guests below were in an uproar. My parents at home were so angry that their hands trembled. Their daughter, whom they regarded as the apple of their eye, was so despicable. These two dogs must not be spared lightly. Imu stepped forward and slapped Xie Qingzhe and Ji Aya in the face, trembling in her voice as she questioned them, "Have your conscience been eaten by the dog? You still trust you so much, how dare you do such a thing in her ward?" When Xie Qingzhe's mother saw her son being beaten, she immediately stepped forward to protect him and said, "Why are you beating my son? Your daughter has become useless and cannot serve men. Why don't you let my son find another woman? My son's willingness to marry your daughter is out of kindness. After her death, there is a place to bury her and an ancestral tomb to enter. Men are just playing with women, so there's nothing to be alarmed about. Your daughter is a vegetable, but my son is fine. I can't let my son keep a useless person as a widower." Xie Qingzhe's mother had a face full of flesh, her triangular eyes hanging, and her rude and unreasonable appearance shocked all the guests at the wedding. You bastard. Imu is a very cultured woman, even if she is so angry that she trembles all over, she still can't say anything very outrageous. Ifu's face turned pale, his hands and feet were cold, and he trembled as he announced, "The wedding has been cancelled, it's not a count." The wedding can be cancelled, but even if the dowry you promised is 1 point less, it's not enough, even if it's for my son's mental loss. Xie Qingzhe's mother jumped out and made shameless demands. She also proudly said, "No one would marry a useless person except for my son." At this moment, Xinran, sitting in a wheelchair, suddenly opened her eyes. Chapter 4. Wedding Replacement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. She stood up and said in a crisp voice, "My wedding with Xie Qingzhe has been cancelled. Whoever is willing to marry me today, I will marry him. I'll marry." A man stood out from the crowd, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, standing tall and upright. Xinran was stunned. She recognized that this was the man she had met at the bar 2 nights ago, and she didn't expect him to come to the wedding. She never expected that he would jump out and say he wanted to marry her at this moment. Heaven and earth have a conscience. She just casually said it out of anger, not seriously. But the atmosphere has reached this point, it won't work if it doesn't continue. According to the parents, seeing that their daughter was fine and happy, they immediately announced the continuation of the wedding. The mother and son of the Xie family, along with Aya, were driven away. The MC has presided over many weddings and has seen people with all kinds of ups and downs. It is the first time he has seen a temporary groom change at a wedding. The MC was very excited and immediately announced the start of the wedding. All the programs are ready. Made and simplified, with 1 bowing to heaven and 2 bowing to the high hall. The couple's bowing ceremony ends and the banquet opens. The wedding banquet was very lively, with both guests and guests enjoying themselves. The wedding is over. Seeing off guests, our parents are going to take our daughter home. They can't just watch our daughter leave the wolf's den with a man who doesn't know where she came from. Urgent help is possible. Ijia's face has been saved. Ijia's parents want to give Tingshen some money as compensation, but their daughter is marrying a man who doesn't know the details, which they cannot accept. Ting asked Ifu deeply, "Do you want to repent of marriage?" His eyes were deep and he couldn't see to the end, but the cold light in his eyes and the aura emanating from his whole body made people like Yi Shanhai who had seen the world tremble in their hearts. He didn't say anything against it. Ting's deep sword eyebrows furrowed lightly, and he said lightly to Xinran, "If you go back on your word, I can pretend that nothing has happened." Xinran said, "I won't regret getting married. Since we have already had a wedding, our marriage counts. Let's go home," he said with a slight smile as he pursed his thin lips. "Okay." There was a Bugatti parked in front of the hotel door, and Tingshen walked over to open the car door. Xinran widened his eyes and stood still. She has been to Bugatti's new car launch event. A car worth billions of dollars is not something that can be bought with money. It needs to be ordered at least a year in advance and must have qualifications. The conditions are extremely strict. Is this your car? He hesitated for a moment and said, I borrowed it. Xinran breathed a sigh of relief and said, It's okay, it wasn't you who stole it. Tingshen. She thought to herself, don't borrow such an expensive car in the future. Being too vain is not a good thing. I have a Mercedes and you can drive it. Ting had a deep illusion of being taken care of, and he acted inexplicably to make the mistake and agreed, okay. Dad prepared a villa by the seaside as a wedding room for Xinran, but Ting was not used to living in a woman's house and insisted on letting Xinran go home with him. Sure, she agreed. Xinran was already prepared for a small, even shabby new home, but Tingshen took Xinran to her home in the city center, which completely surprised her. The house is very large, spotless, and the decoration is described in 3 words as high-end, grand, and upscale. The location here is every inch of land and every inch of gold, and such a large house is conservatively estimated to be worth billions. Xinran was puzzled and said, You work at a bar, can you afford to buy a house here? Chapter 5. Entering the Bridal Chamber. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tingshen explained, the house belongs to a friend who is abroad. I will help him take care of the house. Oh. Xinran let go of her doubts, but a new awkwardness came. Today is the wedding night of 2 people, how to stay is a question. Although they have had a relationship before, without any emotional foundation, it is still difficult for Xinran to accept sleeping with an almost completely unfamiliar man. Fortunately, Tingshen did not plan to live with the 2 of them. He arranged for Xinran to a clean and tidy guest room and said to her, You stay here, I'll stay next door to you. Xinran walked into the room and looked around. The room was fully equipped with all the necessary daily necessities. There is a bathroom in the bedroom, with dry and wet separation, and everything for bathing. Xinran took off her cumbersome wedding dress and walked into the bathroom. She took a beautiful hot bath and washed away her fatigue. It was just a tragedy when she came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel. She opened the wardrobe and it was empty, with nothing inside. That's also right. No matter how simple the move is, it should be moving in with a bag. She didn't bring anything, how does she sleep at night? She doesn't have the habit of sleeping naked, but here she doesn't even have a pajama. Xinran was standing in front of the wardrobe, feeling worried when Tingshen suddenly pushed the door in. How did you come in? Xinran screamed. She held her hands on her chest, trying to block her proud figure, but due to being too nervous, her movements fluctuated too much. The towel wrapped around her body fell off. Ah, 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 ah. She shouted even louder, crouched down and quickly hugged herself, deceiving herself by saying, You can't see me, you can't see me. Tingshen. His gaze never shifted from Xinran. I saw it. A faint response made Xinran awkwardly pick out a 3-bedroom living room with her toes. You're not allowed to look. Xinran's eyes widened and he glared angrily at Tingshen, his gaze resembling that of a frightened little rabbit, but he still had to work hard to make a very scary appearance. She threatened Tingshen and said, Look again. Look again and pull out your eyeballs. Tingshen threw her a set of men's pajamas, didn't say anything, turned around and went out. Bang! The door was heavily closed, and Xinran finally regained consciousness. The pajamas were clean, with a faint fragrance of jasmine, but they were too big. Wearing the top on her was like a pajama, without the need for pants at all. Xinran pulled off her veil, twisted it into a belt and tied it around her waist. Her wide pajamas instantly turned into pajamas, so she didn't have to worry about running out when wandering around the house without wearing any underwear. Just now, she was both shocked and frightened. Now, Xinran feels very thirsty, and there is no water dispenser in the room. So she walked out of the room to find water to drink. Ting sat deep in the living room drinking tea, glanced at her, and then glanced again in an instant. He has a dull personality, and his clothes are usually black and navy blue, including his pajamas. Tingshen never knew that wearing such a dull color on Xinran would have a different effect. The navy blue pajamas accentuate her fair and translucent skin, while the pearl-studded white ribbon around her waist presents her perfect figure with an S-shaped curve and straight, slender legs. Ting's deep heart ignited a fire, rushing everywhere. "Are you drinking tea alone?" Xinran licked her lips, her pink little tongue tempting. Ting had a picture in his mind that was not suitable for children who were at the bar a few days ago, and it was indescribable. "Yeah." He averted his gaze and poured her a cup, gesturing for her to come over and drink tea. "Thank you." Xinran sat across from him, picked up his teacup, and drank it all in one gulp. The tea has a refreshing aroma and a sweet aftertaste, making it a truly good tea. But a small cup doesn't quench thirst. She looked at the mineral water kettle next to the tea table. Although she didn't think it was very polite, she still asked, "Can I have a big drink?" Tingshen. He took the large cup beside him, poured a full cup of white water and handed it to Xinran. She stood up, leaned forward to take the cup, and a spring light appeared on her chest. She realized it was exposed and immediately covered it with her hand. Tingshen thought she had caught it, so he let go and tilted the water glass. A large cup of water poured onto Tingshen, not wasting a bit. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll help you wipe it." Xinran took out a few tissues from the paper drawer on the coffee table and hurriedly went to wipe the water stains. Her focus was only on the water stains, but she didn't pay attention to where to wipe them. When she noticed something different, she blushed with embarrassment and stopped. Chapter 6. Heartbeat Acceleration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I went to sleep. She stood up, turned around, and ran. But Ting held onto his arm and said, "You're not drinking water anymore." She was so thirsty that she unconsciously licked her lips, but shook her head and said, "I won't drink anymore." The man ultimately didn't let her run away. With a strong attitude, he pressed her onto his lap and poured a new glass of water to her mouth, feeding her a drink. She took small sips and finished drinking a large glass of water before the man let her go. Xinran returned to the room, locked the door, and lay in bed for a long time unable to calm down. Her heart was pounding fiercely, almost jumping out of her chest. She has never felt this way before. Is this just the legendary heart pounding? Xinran shook her head, trying hard to shake off the thoughts in her mind. No, it's not possible. Rationality told her that although she married this man, it was only a matter of rights and interests, and she could not marry a man who worked as a duck in the nightclub. This kind of man should be used to pleasing women, like Tingshen. No, just one loss is enough, absolutely not another. Next door room. Tingshen took a cold shower in the bathroom to flush out his inner anger. As soon as he came out of the bathroom, Joan's video invitation came over. After a moment of hesitation, he still clicked the green accept button. Joan's face was covered in 2 words. Gossip. He was filled with a thirst for knowledge and said impatiently, "Miss D, you got married. How could you get married so casually? Let's talk about it. What did you think at that time?" "I didn't think of anything," Tingshen said concisely as usual. Joan obviously didn't believe it. He told his friend, "You appeared at Ijia's wedding today and were already photographed by the reporter. If this matter were to be reported in the news, think about the consequences." Ting frowned deeply, without even thinking about it. The consequence was that there would be trouble, a lot of trouble. There are people in the D family who don't want him to get married and are even more afraid that he will have his own children. Before the dangers of those undercurrents are lifted, he cannot let those people know about his marriage. Joan will send a video to ask, which means he has already taken care of the reporter. The video is to show off his strong abilities and also to ask for labor fees. The way the two get along has always been like this, with siblings calculating accounts, helping out, clearly marking prices, and being fair to both the elderly and the young. Unchanged from childhood to old age. Sure enough, before he could speak, Joan boasted proudly, "I have already dealt with the journalists as soon as possible and had them all sign confidentiality agreements. There are a total of 6 journalists, each with a ceiling fee of 300,000 yuan. Can you transfer 10 million yuan to me?" Tingshen said, "Do you think I'm not good at math?" Joan was indignant and said, "Don't pretend to be confused with your understanding. The rest is of course my transaction fee. You can go out and inquire about the market situation of lawyer Qiao, and charge you a few million yuan, which is the family price." Before he could finish speaking, the sound of a text message reminder came from his phone, and 20 million yuan was deposited into his bank account. Xiao En's face lit up and he said, "It's truly DDoS Ho. He's generous in his actions. Hey, you guys didn't sleep together. I need you to take care of it. I don't care about you, I care about you. Although E family has money, they still don't see enough of you compared to you. TSK, these two even suspect your motives for becoming their son.in.law. E Shanghai and his wife are investigating you. If you don't want to expose your identity, you need to take action now. Do you need me to provide them with some fake information? Use." After Tingshen finished speaking, he hung up and said everything he needed to say. Continuing the conversation was just gossip. Xiaoan is the best lawyer in Jinghai, specializing in a top law firm and running a bar as a sideline. He enjoys gossiping. He serves both his main and side businesses to satisfy his gossip. In an instant, his video call came back, and Tingshen refused to accept it. Xiaoan sent a message on WeChat. "You must have fallen in love with her, right?" Faced with his friend's aggression, Ting did not deny or directly admit that he was meddling. "Joan. Even if I meddle in my own business, if your grandfather finds out about this, he will definitely be very happy." Tingshen. "Don't tell my grandfather. I can't tell him about this yet." The old man of the D family hopes for the stars and the moon, hoping that his most proud grandson can marry and have children soon. In the eyes of outsiders, the D family is mysterious and low-key, rich enough to rival the country, but it is not an iron block. Ting deeply does not want the little woman to participate in the chaotic things at home. She did indeed perform well at the wedding today, but at the D family, I'm afraid her current abilities will be eaten to the point of leaving no bones. He wanted to protect Xinran, Joan saw it. Joan. Oh, that's it now. It seems that she holds a significant position in your heart. Did you fall in love with her at first sight? Tingshen. Bring over some clothes and items for girls tomorrow morning. Joan. All right. Oh my goodness, DDoS Ho, you must have a brain problem. How could you consider others? It's over, our little brother D has fallen in love. Ting skillfully blacklisted Joan. The next day. Early morning. Joan was wearing a floral shirt, a white suit, and shiny red leather shoes, dressed like a flower magpie, ringing the doorbell of Tingshen's home. Ding dong. Ding dong. Ding dong. The doorbell rang for the third time, and Tingshen opened the door in his pajamas, with clear blue and black circles under his eyes. Didn't you sleep well yesterday? Joan smiled ambiguously, and the flames of gossip burned brightly. Tingshen said, get lost. Don't be like this, let's talk about it. Don't be so stingy. Tingshen took the bag from his friend's hand and slammed the door shut. Just so stingy, love me so much. Chapter 7. Hegemonic Protection of Wife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did someone come just now? Xinran came out of the room. Xinran looked at the bag in his hand and handed it over. "Take your clothes back and give them a try," he said. "Did you buy me clothes?" Xinran was overjoyed. She was worried about how to go out for a while when the man bought the clothes back. "Thank you, husband." Xinran called out naturally, but after calling out, she found that Tingshen didn't react. She was a bit embarrassed, and her delicate little face was covered with 2 red clouds, which were very cute. She lowered her head and quickly walked back to the room, holding her clothes. The clothes in the bag were very complete, from underwear to outerwear, and the size was also suitable. Thinking of this, the blush on Xinran's face became even more obvious. When she changed her clothes and came out, Tingshen's eyes lit up. Wearing a white waist-up dress, she accentuated her perfect figure, both sexy and not alluring, both dignified and not dull. Purity and temptation appeared on her at the same time, beautiful but not discordant, with an indescribable charm. Ting had a small flame in his heart that was about to ignite. He took a step forward, but Xinran took 2 steps back and lit up his phone, saying, "My parents asked us to go back for dinner. Shall we leave now? Going to your house now, won't it take 3 days to return?" Ting's deep sword eyebrows furrowed lightly. Xinran said, "Yes, but my parents said they want to discuss something with us, so they let us go back today. Don't you want to go?" If he doesn't want to go, she will go back by herself. She knew that her parents were not at ease with herself. Yesterday's wedding was too dramatic, and the plot that was difficult to appear in TV dramas would be difficult for anyone to accept. Last night, the couple stayed up all night to investigate their son-in-law's background. The investigation result shows that the groom who appeared at the wedding was named Tingshen, who has been working odd jobs since graduating from college. He is an ordinary worker with no bad habits, no parents or even friends. He only has one grandfather in his family, and the 2 rely on each other. It was his grandfather who picked up waste and raised him. The background of my son-in-law is too clean as a blank sheet of paper. This kind of background makes my parents feel a little at ease. Having money at home is not important, what matters is character. As long as the son-in-law has good character, the daughter's future life can be happy, as exemplified by Xinran. But the human heart is separated by the belly, and character needs to be observed, so observation requires more contact. They called their daughters and asked them to go home for dinner, that's the purpose. Ting has a deep understanding of his belly. The information that Ijia can investigate was all discovered by Joan after organizing it. Although that guy is talkative and gossipy, he has never had any problems with anything serious. According to his parents' desire to understand him, it is understandable that they care about their daughter. He agreed, "Okay, I'll go back with you." "Really? Thank you." "You." Xinran wanted to call her husband, but then remembered the embarrassment of last night and forced to change her words. "Call me, husband." One Simu's words fell to the ground and he himself was stunned. How could he make such a strange request? From childhood to adulthood, there were no words like husband or wife in his family environment. Everyone is serious and their names are very official. He refers to his parents as father, mother, and his mother refers to his father as sir, while his father refers to his mother as madam. Not only his parents, but also other marital relationships in the family. The word husband is unfamiliar to him. But inexplicably feels familiar. What's going on? He likes this very down-to-earth title. "Okay, husband, let's go back now." "Oh, you don't know, my mom's sweet and sour pork ribs are so delicious. They're so delicious. I haven't had them for half a month, and I dreamt about them last night. You will definitely like them." Xinran jumped up and down in front of Tingshen, grabbing his arm and shaking it with both hands. He couldn't wait to go back. Tingshen was not quite used to this way of getting along. He withdrew his arm from her hands and said calmly, "Wait for me, I'll go prepare some gifts." The new son.in.law entered his father.in.law's door for the first time and did not return empty-handed. This is the most basic etiquette, and Ting will not be impolite. On our way back, just buy some fruit on the way. Mom and Dad don't need anything. Xinran thought of Tingshen working in a bar, and his salary wouldn't be high. She didn't want him to spend more money, and she didn't make it clear that she wanted to take care of her husband's self-esteem. On their way back, the two passed by a fruit shop. Tingshen asked Xinran to wait for him in the car, and he got off the car and went in. Unexpectedly, Xinran's trouble came. Not long after Tingshen left, the door of the driver's cab suddenly opened and someone came up. It's Xinran. Chapter 8. Invincible to the Low. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you still have face? Get lost. Xinran lowered her face. Xinran smiled and grabbed Xinran's hand, saying, "Xinran, I love you. It was because of her love and seduction that I made a mistake that men all over the world would make. I have already cut off from her, and we will live a good life together in the future. Let's start over." She quickly withdrew her hand in disgust. "Who wants to start over with you? I already have a husband, please don't bother me." "You said the person who appeared at the wedding yesterday." Xinran's teeth itch with jealousy when he thinks of Tingshen. That man came out of nowhere, causing himself to be kicked out at the wedding. Xinran will not think that his infidelity is wrong, he only hates others interfering with his good deeds. He kept pestering and said, "Xinran, I know you love me. You deliberately made a man angry with me and made me jealous. Alright, stop being a child. You made me lose face yesterday. Even if we tie this matter, no one will mention it, okay? Jia has already left Jinghai, and she will no longer appear in our lives in the future. We will start over." He imagined that it would be like how he used to coax Xinran, fooling this matter in just a few words. It would be best if he could coax her to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau today to get her marriage certificate. As long as the two become legally married, it is meaningless for her to hold a wedding with anyone. Xinran was calculating well, but Xinran had already seen through his ugly face. She sneered, "Do you want to reconcile? Dream. Even if I marry a pig or a dog, I won't marry you. Xinran, you must have lost this heart." Xinran has a gentle personality, but if she becomes resolute, she will never turn back. Xinran saw that there was no hope of reconciliation, and immediately cursed at each other, "My mother is really right. You are a slut. What kind of temporary change at a wedding? It was you two who had colluded long ago, and calculated that I would lose both face and money. You must compensate me for my mental damage. The humiliation I suffered yesterday cannot be just that." Xinran didn't talk nonsense to him and slapped him in the face. "Get lost." Xinran gritted his teeth and said, "What I can't get, I can't give others a discount." He suddenly hugged her and his stinky mouth arched towards her face. Xinran struggled desperately, pushing and kicking repeatedly. Helplessly, the strength of a woman is not as strong as that of a man, and she is about to be forcefully kissed by Xinran. At this critical moment, a gust of cold wind hit his face, and the car door opened. Xinran was pulled off the car by his neck and punched him in the face. Xinran was knocked dizzy and disoriented, with a golden little star in front of him, but more importantly, he was furious and said, "Get out of here, you outsiders, don't mind your own business." Ting's deep sword eyebrows furrowed lightly as he took a step forward and said, "Who are you saying is an outsider, His aura was wide open, and his eagle-like eyes were shining with cold light. Xinran's heart and liver trembled with fear. "You, wait for me, this matter is not over." Xinran ran away in a hurry. Ting's deep and beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and a fierce flash flashed, but it was fleeting and quickly returned to normal. Tingshen turned back and asked Xinran, "Are you okay?" "It's okay, thank you. I'm your husband, you don't have to thank me." During the process of tearing up with Xie just now, Xinran's clothes were wrinkled. She was afraid that when she went back to see her parents like this, they would worry. So Xinran proposed to go to the mall to buy a set of clothes and change them. Tingshen agreed and accompanied her there. Tingshen took Xinran to the shop he often went to. Xinran took a deep breath. This store is very high-end, niche, and membership-based. Not only do they need money to become members, but they also set various thresholds for members. Even if there is more money, it is useless if the conditions are not enough. Ijia's presence in Jinghai can be considered prestigious, but it is not enough to qualify for membership. Xinran asked, "How could you have members of this store?" Chapter 9. I Raise You. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A friend gave it as a gift. Tingshen casually fabricated a reason, which made Xinran's heart tremble. Can't it be a gift from the owner? She doesn't want her husband to be a soft eater, but she knows that the membership card system at this store requires an annual consumption of 10 million, which is the threshold level for the store. Even if the card is given by someone else, if it doesn't meet this consumption level, the membership will be cancelled. How much money can he earn working in a bar? Xinran summed it up in her heart, but didn't say it. The two of them walked in and were warmly welcomed by the salesperson. Tingshen said to the clerk, "Choose some clothes that fit my wife." The surprised gaze of the shop assistant disappeared in a flash, almost to the point where Xinran just glanced at the interior decoration and made a mistake. "Madam. Did Xiao get married? There are rumors outside that Mr. D likes men and doesn't like women. It's really pitiful to be his wife." The salesperson asked Tingshen to wait on the sofa in the waiting area, then glanced at Xinran and brought a few matching dresses. "Please go to the fitting room and try them on." Xinran always felt that the way the salesperson looked at her had a sympathetic element in her eyes, and she didn't know if she was overthinking it. Why sympathize with her? Perhaps the customers who come here are either rich or expensive, and Tingshen's membership card was borrowed. Xinran is determined to change her husband's current work environment. She came out of the fitting room and Ting nodded in deep approval. "I'll take it all." He waved his hand and went to swipe his card. "No need, just one piece is enough." Xinran quickly stopped and insisted on buying one, which was the one she was wearing. Just now in the fitting room, she glanced at the price and was startled. The cheapest dress costs over 100,000 yuan. She can't afford a few clothes that cost millions, and she can't let her husband go to the cashier and find out that the money is not enough to lose face. Just buying one, Xinran is also worried. She followed her husband to the cashier and was always ready to swipe her card if he couldn't make the money. Swipe card successfully. Tingshen turned around and saw Xinran standing behind him, with a serious expression and not happy. Tingshen said, "Do you have something on your mind?" Say. Go out and talk." After the two of them went out, she whispered her doubts and said, "The clothes here are not cheap, why do you have so much money?" He was momentarily stunned. He had become accustomed to spending money, but when he didn't pay attention, he brought out his usual habits. He told Xinran that he worked as a waiter in a bar. "The last time I met him at the bar, it was because my grandfather was sick and needed money urgently, so he sold his looks and only did it this time." It's really difficult to explain why a bar waiter casually buys clothes worth over 100,000 yuan. "You didn't ask for a dowry when we got married, I just bought you a piece of clothing." I'll save some money in the future." Tingshen casually came up with a reason. Xinran bit her lower lip and frowned slightly. Ting couldn't guess whether she believed it or not, so he remained silent and watched it change. Xinran is weighing how to express herself without hurting her husband's self-esteem. Finally, she felt uneasy and said, "Husband, quit your job and don't work in a bar like that. I'll take care of you." Tingshen. This is the first time someone has said to him, "I take care of you." He gave her a deep glance, but Xinran misunderstood. She thought it hurt her husband's self-esteem and immediately made up for it. "I'm not saying you're useless, I'm saying there are people of all kinds in places like bars. You must have your own reasons for doing that. I won't ask about things before, but don't go to work in such places in the future. Okay. Did you agree?" Xinran was overjoyed. "Yes, I agree." Originally, he didn't like going to bars either. The bar waiter just fabricated an identity and resigned, which saved him from finding excuses. Xinran's eyebrows and eyes curved with a smile, and happiness filled her entire small face. Her smile was very infectious, and Tingshen also smiled. When the two of them were approaching Yi's house, Tingshen received a call from his grandfather asking him to go home quickly, saying that there was an urgent matter. "What's up?" Xinran saw his eyebrows furrow slightly and said empathetically, "If you have something to do, just leave first. It's the same for me to go back by myself. I will come over soon, no more than 2 hours at most." "Okay." In the living room, the atmosphere is very solemn. "According to my parents' attitude, yesterday's wedding doesn't count. Marriage is not a child's play, you can't just marry someone casually. Marriage should have an emotional foundation. If you are not happy after marriage, the old couple would rather stop losing money in a timely manner. Nothing is more important than the happiness of a daughter. Even if their reputation is poor, they may not get married for a lifetime, and they will take care of their daughter for a lifetime. Yesterday at the wedding, my daughter suddenly woke up and the groom changed suddenly. All of this happened too quickly and suddenly, so fast that the old couple didn't react, so they let their daughter go with that man. Now they regret it. Anyway, since only the wedding was held and no marriage certificate was obtained, will that man still rely on his own family? No way. Xinran disagrees. Her beautiful eyebrows furrowed slightly, and she said to her parents, "Mom and Dad, you have taught me since I was young to keep my promises and not betray my promises. Yesterday, Tingshen and I swore at our wedding that we will never part ways, whether we are poor or sick. This past day, are you making me regret it? No, I can't do it. Emu." She began to regret teaching her daughter too well, only teaching her to be kind and not letting her see that there were still many ugliness in this world. Yi's mother said to her daughter, "Swearing in is a wedding procedure that no one will take seriously, but marriage is not a child's play. We don't object to you marrying a poor boy, but what if there is another man like Xinran? I won't do it." Xinran firmly said, "He is different from Xinran." Fu retorted, "Xinran was also chosen by yourself, so you promised not to take a wrong look again." Chapter 10. Meeting Parents. You are listening at novelfull.audio. She really can't guarantee it. Xinran hugged her mother's arm and coquettishly said, "You go cook, I'm already hungry. I want to eat the sweet and sour pork ribs you made. I want to eat them now." This is her ultimate skill. Even if something big is in front of us, as long as our daughter is hungry, we have to make way. "Okay, I'll go make you sweet and sour pork ribs." Mother went to the kitchen, and Xinran comforted her father again. She also coquettishly hugged her arms and told her father, "I'm already an adult. Don't worry, I promise I won't take my eyes off this time." Shanhai loves his daughter very much, and her spoiled behavior dispels most of Shanhai's resentment in her heart. He sighed and said, "Of course, Dad is not arbitrary and overbearing. I'm afraid you might fall for it again." "I'm not afraid, I have confidence. My parents are my confidence. If I look around again this time, I will never get married and spend my whole life with them. Xinran hugged Shanhai's arm and smiled innocently. Okay. Shanhai sighed and compromised, but he proposed two conditions. Firstly, Tingshen could no longer work at the bar and would work in his own company, working as a manager assistant in the marketing department. I will be the son.in.law who comes to my door. D family mansion. Study. The old man of the D family stood behind the spacious desk, with a solemn expression, but the joy in his eyes couldn't stop him. Bastard. The old man slapped the table, raised the corner of his mouth, and leaned forward slightly, saying, "Why didn't you tell me about your marriage?" Ting kept it a secret from the media, but not from his grandfather. I won't say it, don't you already know all about it? Is that true? Mr. D suddenly smiled, his goatee curling up as he said, "My grandson has a good eye. Although his family's social status is much worse than ours, getting married and being virtuous is not important. Don't worry, Grandpa is not an old-fashioned person. He won't break up you just because of the disparity in social status. Bring the person back quickly for me to see." Ting frowned deeply and said, "Not right now. You know the situation at home, it's not suitable now." The old man put away his smile and sighed heavily. "Okay, you don't want to bring her back, but Grandpa wants to see her. You can arrange it." "Okay." Emu's sweet and sour pork ribs were ready, but Xinran received a call from Tingshen. "Ah. What time did it happen?" "I'll be right out." Xinran hung up the phone and was in a hurry to leave. Emu asked with concern, "Who called? Is it Tingshen? When will he arrive?" "Mom and Dad, I left a bit early." After Xinran's words fell silent, he grabbed the bag from the sofa and hurriedly walked outside the door. "Why are you in a hurry, kid? You haven't eaten your meal yet." "No more, you guys can eat." Xinran hurriedly left because she received a phone call from Tingshen, saying that his grandfather was hospitalized and did not have the money to pay the hospitalization fee. She hoped she could go there. She feels very guilty. The clothes and dresses that Tingshen had sent to him in the morning and the clothes he bought in the mall were not cheap. He must have spent all his savings buying these things for himself, so he didn't have the money to pay his grandfather's hospitalization expenses. Xinran pushed open the door of the hospital room, and on the bed lay an old man with a white beard and white hair. His eyebrows and eyes were somewhat similar to those of Tingshen, and he looked lively, not as if he was sick. Ting sat deep by his hospital bed, peeling apples. Seeing Xinran come in and smile, "Are you here?" Grandpa saw his grandson smile and his eyes almost widened in shock. This kid hasn't laughed in 5 years, and now he's actually smiling. Does it mean that my grandson has already come out of that matter? Because of his grandson's smile, the old man of the D family had a very good first impression of Xinran. "Are you Miss E? Come on, sit here." The old man warmly invited Xinran to be by his side. As Xinran approached, she suddenly smelled an unpleasant smell. There was a large snake skin bag standing by the bed, and a piece of waste paper shell was exposed from the bulging snake skin bag. The smell came from there. "Hello Grandpa, my name is Xinran and I am your granddaughter-in-law." She greeted Grandpa confidently as if she hadn't smelled the smell. "Good child, Grandpa doesn't have much to give you when we first meet. I have to ask you to pay for my hospital expenses. It's useless when I get old." Mr. D wiped his tears while observing Xinran. Sun Tzu said he was an old scavenger who raised him by picking up scraps. He had to pretend to be like this when he wanted to see his granddaughter-in-law. However, this is also good as it can quickly determine the true thoughts in a person's heart. Xinran didn't dislike the unpleasant smell in the ward at all, nor did she dislike the old man's poverty. She asked her grandfather to take good care of his body and after discharge, she didn't want to live alone outside and lived with them. Their salaries are enough for the elderly, so they don't need him to work so hard every day to collect waste. I won't cause you any trouble as I'm old and useless. If you have time, you and Tingshen can go home a few more times to see me, and I'll be satisfied. Don't think too much, the most important thing is to quickly take care of your body. Xinran comforted the old man a few words, and then asked for the hospitalization permit to pay the fee. After paying the fee, Tingshen stood in the corridor waiting for her and said, "Let's go to your parents' house." Today, he was supposed to accompany Xinran back to his mother's house, but he was called away by his grandfather halfway. Now that my grandfather has seen Xinran, he is very satisfied and it's time for him to meet his parents. Xinran said, "It's not urgent to go to my parents' house. We can't leave our grandfather behind when he's hospitalized. It's important to take care of him first." Tingshen said, "Grandpa has been discharged from the hospital." Xinran. Did she just leave the hospital after going out to pay the fees? Tingshen explained, "Grandpa is not a serious illness. He picked up a paper shell on the street and fainted due to hypoglycemia. He was taken to the hospital by a kind-hearted person. He had just had his glucose taken and recovered. The old man was afraid of spending money and left. How can you let the old man go back alone? What if there's something else on the way? He has become accustomed to being alone, nothing will happen. Let's go." He picked up Xinran's hand and walked out. Ijia. Xinran and Ting walked deep into the door, and Yi's parents had a faint expression. "Come and sit down." 4 people sat opposite each other on the sofa and said to Ting directly from their father, "Did you agree to both of those conditions?" "What conditions?" Ting was deeply lost. It was only then that Xinran remembered the 2 conditions that her father had told her. Just now, she felt guilty and forgot about such a big thing. She quickly explained, "Dad, I haven't told him yet that this kind of thing is not urgent." "Why not rush?" Shanghai interrupted his daughter's words and said deeply to Ting, "But if you didn't say anything, then let me do it for you. You don't deserve my daughter. Your wedding yesterday didn't count, but you came out to help yesterday, and I can't let you help in vain." He took out a bank card from his pocket and placed it in front of Tingshen, saying, "Take this card, there is 1 million in it. Leave my daughter."